Hello, everybody. Welcome to the media show on the Pod TV network. And I'd like to welcome our viewers in the United States, around the world, including Bermuda and, of course, the European Union and the USA. So we're going to discuss all things media today. And with that, we're going to bring in our person who is our journalism major, has 100 years experience in radio and broadcasting, Mark Lee, to discuss the media. And also we have another person who's been in media, person who's actually a former writer for Jimmy Kimmel Live, bringing Rick Rosner from LA, and then from the great country up north, otherwise known as Canada, produces at least 3 shows from the Pod TV network. We're going to bring in Sasha Starr, including his famous show on investing, where he makes all his money, and then the shows which are, well, chess just doesn't cut it. As my friend Elshen Moirabadi, I was following his last round at the National Open. Okay, he lost, unfortunately. But here's the problem in chess. Okay, second place paid $3,000. But if you lose your round, you get a total of $75. So let's face it, Sasha, to go round trip ticket to Las Vegas, spend all week playing, and you win $75.
Which will buy you a good appetizer and a glass of wine.
Exactly, which is one reason I want to live a little better than that.
So maybe you should have invested this money in NVIDIA instead going to Las Vegas and so on. Because NVIDIA today trading first time after the split. So now it's no longer the $1,000 and $200.
$1,200 a share.
It's $120. It's cheap.
$120 a share. You can buy some shares in NVIDIA now. They're affordable.
So it's 122 maybe, but still, it's so cheap now. Of course, you're buying only 1/10 of the number of shares what you would buy otherwise. But forget about that time. The split is done. It's never going to be reversed. It's same thing. NVIDIA split it, I think, 4 years ago. They split 4-1. So the $800 shares became $200 shares. And they were back to 800 in about a year and a half. So now I'm expecting the NVIDIA, which is now 122 or so, it will be $200 a share well before the year end. I'm pretty sure.
You know what? Split last time, I didn't buy, or I did buy and then sold quick after making a profit. And my problem is I should have just held it, let it go, like you said, up and up.
But it's rather difficult. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. It's very difficult to hold on to a stock as NVIDIA because it moves. It has incredible volume, and sometimes you already exceed your wildest expectations. You're sitting now on hundreds of thousands of profit. And now you're scared because it's very volatile stock. It's great stock, but it's volatile stock. So now if it will reverse, and at some point it will, and it was actually reversing, but then it recovering very quickly or so. But say it reverses and losing, say not 20, but even 5% of its value. And you're thinking about, well, okay, I'm sitting now on all this house money. Why would I give them a chance to take some of it back? Why should I? So I might as well sell it all and keep all my profits. And then if it will indeed fall 5-10% or better 20%, you will get back in. But it's not happening because it's recovering very quickly. So my solution to that was selling deep covered calls. So covered calls will not allow me to sell because you don't want to stay with the naked call. So you marry your shares to your call, and that's make you disciplined to hold on to a stock. If it wouldn't be for that device, I wouldn't be able to do it.
No, you're doing really well and everything. Just really quickly, because it's the media show, and apparently our good friend Donald Trump is getting in trouble again, as is his good friends at Fox and everything. Because apparently he was at a Las Vegas rally, and he said that his diehard MAGA fans would prioritize suicide over Biden during the rally. And apparently there is also some editing that is going on, because apparently there was a interview that he did sometime back where he had a very unusual response to Jeffrey Epstein, and apparently the fine folks at Fox aired part of the interview, but they edited out the controversial part and all along those lines. So I was just wondering our thinks on these things, because apparently he's making a lot of shocking claims, and we're talking about Biden and his cognitive abilities, but apparently Trump is also making some very interesting claims, because he did this on yesterday. So this would have been on the 9th. So he claimed that a diehard MAGA fan would contemplate suicide before voting for President Joe Biden, and all along those lines. So what are our thoughts? Because apparently,
if you're a liberal, you engage in wishful thinking that Trump's brain is really falling apart. But that's not for sure, because he's always said a bunch of blowhardy things.
Right.
And also at this point, it's hard to imagine exactly what he could say that would be so crazy that it would lose him votes among his base. Because like the whole Stormy Daniels cover-up thing is because they were afraid that if people learned that he'd been banging a porn star, they maybe wouldn't vote for him in 2016. But it's 8 years later, and that's not a problem at all for his base.
We actually have a clip on Donald, so let's go take a look and see what he has to say.
I've said this, and for those hotel workers and people that get tips, you're going to be very happy, because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips. We're not going to do it, and we're going to do that right away, first thing in office, because it's been a point of contention for years and years and years, and you do a great job of service, you take care of people, and I think it's going to be something that really is deserved. More importantly, popular or unpopular. I do some unpopular things, too, if it's right for the country. I do what's right. But so those people that have jobs in restaurants, whatever the job may be, a tipping job, we're not going after for taxes anymore. This will be ended. And I announced that for the first time I've brought it up, first time anyone's brought it up. I think it's never been brought up before, and I also think it's very appropriate.
Well, talk about buying votes.
Horrible.
There's a way to do it.
I don't understand something. So he put the people who are earning tips in a completely different bracket compared to the largest population of America who are not earning tips. So he's trying to manipulate the weight in favor of people who are earning tips. And I don't understand. Earning tips, it's still earnings. So how come the part of the earnings, or maybe even major part of the earnings of certain people, would not be taxed? And how would that benefit majority of taxpayers? Show me how.
Well, the thing is, it benefits this particular group of taxpayers because they don't have the luxury to how you say, invest in tax-free municipal bonds, which helps rich people, invest in tax-deferred annuities, which help rich people, to inherit money from estates, which help rich people. So I have to commend Donald Trump. He's actually helping poor people.
That's baloney. Come on, they also have other problems. Not only the prime minister,
helping rich people.
They're not driving Rolls Royces either. So we have to worry about these people are deprived of driving Rolls Royces. We have to give them some money to subsidize, so each one will drive Rolls Royce. How come these poor people cannot drive Rolls Royce?
No, these people. He's totally right. These people work really hard. Their opportunities in life are very limited. And they're the ones that need breaks. Your friend Elon Musk, who's got 260 billion, who is asking to borrow 40 billion so he doesn't have to pay taxes. He doesn't need breaks. And neither does your friends at that crazy NVIDIA company. They don't need breaks. They already won the lottery. They're soaking in millions. So commend them for actually helping normal people. Yeah, Rick.
What are we
Biden should
talking? At
steal-
the end of
Biden-
the day, Rick, maybe you find the answer. What at the end of the day we are talking about by letting them not pay taxes on the tips? What exactly we are talking about? What the U.S., who is in $35 trillion in debts, and the country is going apart. So now they're saying, okay, we don't need the income from the tips. What are we talking about?
What I found is the IRS estimates that 23 billion of the estimated 2006 income tax underreporting tax gap is due to people not reporting tips. So it's not hundreds of billions, it's tens of billions. If Trump's plan went through, it would probably cost the US a couple tens of billions in lost revenue. But Biden should steal this and say that your first, say, $50 a shift in tips aren't subject to income tax. It wouldn't cost the US that much, and he would steal the momentum on this from Trump. But of course, Trump's gonna announce this in Nevada, which is a swing state and which has probably the highest proportion of tipped employees in America. You know, all the casino folks and the strip joint people, and Vegas is it's a vacation place, so all those people who serve the vacationers work for tips.
Yeah, frankly, it was a great idea that he said it. And he said it in the right state, and he stole some of Joe Biden's thunder.
Yeah,
but
and
Joe
I'm not
Biden's
sure. Like he says a lot of stuff that he's going to do. I don't know if could he do it? Could he just make an executive?
Here's the funny thing: he can't, because he has to get the law passed by Congress. So even though he says on the first day I'll eliminate, no, he ain't gonna do jack the first day.
Yeah, so Biden should announce that he an executive whatever orders that says no tax on your first $50 a day in tips.
But they can't do that because that's a legislative function. They need.
But he can say it and then let him take him to court. And by the time it works its way through the courts, it's election day.
Yeah, well, you're right. He could actually steal the thunder of Trump. But see, this is the problem with Biden. Biden's an old man. He has old ideas. He represents the Democratic Party, an old party that has old ideas, which is the reason they're going to lose, is because they decided to put this old man up for election. They didn't get anyone else a chance, and if they lose, they deserve it. And if they
hold on a second, Nick, your favorite person is making a very interesting comparison, because apparently he came out with some more great news. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, your favorite person and everything, is apparently comparing Trump. First, he compared Trump to George Floyd, and now she's comparing Trump to Jesus Christ. So apparently she's saying that Trump and Jesus Christ have a lot in common and all along those lines. So what is our thoughts when apparently she is comparing Trump to the savior of many people and all along those lines? So and this was also in Las Vegas. So definitely she was there as well, where she was making this comparison to Trump and Jesus Christ.
Like I said, I personally don't follow Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think she's an idiot. She's a poor representative of the Republican Party. I wish she would just.
Well, here's exactly what she said. She said the Democrat and the fake news media want to talk about Trump is a convicted felon. She said Sunday, addressing a sweaty crowd of easily duped Americans. That's what Yahoo News said, not me. You want to know something? The man that I worship is also a convicted felon, and he was murdered on a Roman cross. So that definitely is a reference to Jesus Christ.
So you have to ask, how many porn stars did Jesus pay off?
Good question.
And so Trump turns 78 on Friday, so he's no spring chicken.
He's no spring chicken either.
Yeah, Trump has lived 45 years longer than Jesus did, and he's gotten into a lot more trouble.
I just don't think it's a good comparison, Mark. I don't think it's a good.
With any of this stuff, you have to ask, whose mind does this change? She was speaking at the Trump rally, I assume, and nobody's going to hear that and get so disgusted that they decide not to vote for Trump. And I don't know, all this craziness, does it serve the purpose of changing voters' minds?
Yeah, but they are attempting to buy votes. I mean, Biden's attempt to buy votes is, I'm going to forgive student loans to everybody, which he really can't or should not do. And that's just to buy votes. And the thing is, so Trump decided, hey, I'll just stop taxing tips and wages. And all those people in Las Vegas, even the people that do the poker tables, they get tips. All the people that serve at poker tables, they get tips. It's a tip economy. And if you look at it, the minimum wage there, the federal minimum wage on that is like $2.35 an hour. These people aren't getting rich by any stretch of the imagination living on tips. So he's going to give them a break, and I don't see a problem with that at all. But because
of
being able to do it, which is
the question is, can he do it, and how can he do it, and everything. But speaking of breaks,
he's got to get Congress to approve it.
He's got to get Congress to approve it.
And if they do leave some revenue on the table, it's not near as much as the giveaways of Biden has had the last several years.
Well, speaking of breaks,
Biden is still running a deficit. How can this guy? If Biden wants to win election, all he has to submit a balanced budget, please.
Well, hopefully there'll be a balanced budget before November and all along those lines. But speaking of that, there was some major media news because people got excited because sometimes we talk about first things that happen and all along those lines. But people have been watching the NBA Finals, which right now it looks like Boston is just cruising to victories left and right. But we'll see what they do when they get to Dallas. But a lot of people are talking about this young lady named Doris Burke because apparently she is the lead of the NBA broadcasting crew, and apparently she became the first female broadcaster to carry any major men's championship in the United States, according to Sports Illustrated. So I guess folks are excited about this 59-year-old young lady that is now the first one to be a major analyst and to be the lead analyst as they're doing this whole sports coverage. So I just wanted to my esteemed gentleman friends here, if there any thoughts about this, and if folks should be excited because I heard a lot of people talking about the fact that she was doing there, and she said that she's sort of mindful that there is something meaningful here, and definitely wants to do the best she can to represent a good job and all along those lines. But like I said, people are touting her because this is a first for ESPN, and apparently the first one time that they've had a woman call a major sporting event.
I'm not sure how much sports commentary in general adds to watching a game. A lot of times I just turn off the sound, and if I need commentary, I'll yell sports or basketball until my wife tells me to shut up.
Yeah, I'm just curious why ESPN didn't carry the National Open in chess on chess.com. I have to go to chess.com to watch the National Open in chess. You can't watch anything intellectually on TV except Jeopardy. And other than that, ABC, NBC is a waste. So is CBS. I just throw all the major.
It wasn't just Jeopardy. There were tons of those.
And I could care less who the commentator is.
What's that? Are you smarter than a fifth grader? Jeopardy. There's Family Feud. There was a number of these shows that are supposed to be testing people's intelligence, just like Amazing Race is supposed to be testing folks' abilities.
There's a lot of chess on YouTube these days.
Well, I could follow it on chess.com, follow the National Open, and that was about it. Yeah.
Oh, YouTube has everything what has chess.com, plus it has many shows. Well, I'm of course watching a lot of chess shows.
Yeah, YouTube is moving up.
Very, very interesting stuff.
I'll tell you a secret about quiz shows. Jeopardy is one of the few shows that casts contestants more on the basis of skill than personality. You still can't be a complete weirdo to get on Jeopardy, but you can be good at answering the questions. There are other shows like The Wall, I think it's called, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire changed its casting criteria like after a few years. It costs less in payouts, and it's fine with viewers to cast people who don't know anything.
But Rick, just really quickly, because there was a major game show, speaking of that world, because you're very much involved in that world, but I'm not going to lie, I used to watch the show on occasion. But apparently both Pat Sajak and Vanna White have stepped down after 41 years and over 8,000 episodes. So as one is in that field and everything, what is your take on Pat Sajak and his illustrious career? Because apparently he is stepping down as the host of this show that he's been the host of, seems like forever, but
Yeah,
definitely.
he's fine. He tried to go beyond. He got restless 30 years ago in his or 25, and they gave him a late night talk show that lasted for just a couple weeks. That late night thing is a very specialized and rare skill, and he couldn't pull it off. They gave Magic Johnson a talk show, and it lasted just a few weeks. It's a tough gig.
I wonder if Pat Sajak is voting for Donald Trump, because I just saw when I was looking up his bio that he is a member of the Republican Party, and he has apparently got a net worth of $75 million.
Yeah, which is fine. You're allowed to have your opinion and stuff. But yeah, he's conservative. What's annoying to people is like people like Kevin Sorbo who say they got canceled because they're Trump people in Hollywood. And if people know you're conservative in Hollywood, like Scott Baio, like you'll never get a job again, which is not true. If you're good at your job and people like you, what's his name? Angelina Jolie's dad, John Voight. He's very conservative. He still gets work he's pushing 80 probably, because people like his acting. Even though he's super Trumpy and says crazy crap on Twitter in support of Trump, it doesn't, he still gets work because people think he does a good job.
Well, I have good news for you and Sasha and, more Nick and Sasha and everything. But apparently the BBC is about to revive a very popular chess TV show called The Master Game. And they announced that about a month and a half ago. So apparently they're about to bring that out, and it'll be there. So if you're over there in Spain, which I know you're headed to, Nick, apparently if you can catch the BBC, you can watch this apparently very popular TV show that used to be called The Master Game, and all along those lines. So you will have some chess that you can catch if you can get the BBC.
The BBC, but not CBS, ABC, or NBC. They basically, you don't get any of the American shows over there.
Yeah, but the British quiz shows are superior to the U.S. quiz shows because they are just insanely tough. They have a whole quiz cult that goes on over there. It's just a different world, especially in Great Britain for whatever reason. Yeah, speaking of the news, the BBC doesn't have that much money, and quiz shows are cheap.
Yeah. Speaking on the news, Pete Maravich's son died at age 42. Now Pete Maravich was a great basketball player, and he died young. He died at age 40, and from a heart condition. Well, his son died also just the other day, but they don't know what the cause of death was. But I think it's weird that the Maraviches lived to age 40, and then that's about it.
Well, let's not forget that Pete Maverick is who Caitlin Clark beat, and now there's a lot of controversy as to whether Caitlin Clark should be on the Olympic team or not.
I want to talk about, I just found out that a couple guys I went to school with in Colorado, the Gondrzeks, which was a huge basketball family, that they lost one guy, Grant. There were two brothers who went pretty far, played pro, Grant and Gail, and they died from heart problems at 53 and 57. Their daughter, one of their daughters, plays in the WNBA. And there's a thing called Marfan syndrome, where it's a connective tissue disease where your tissue is a little bit loose and tears easily. And the same disease that gives you that bad tissue lets you be super tall. And so you see like volleyball players suddenly dropping dead, that one of their, they have an aortic dissection, an aneurysm.
Right.
And it could be with these heart problems, the same thing that makes you tall makes you subject to sudden heart failure.
Yeah. Well, that might be what happened with Pete Maravich's son. But I found it strange that they both died in their 40s. But also, as the aging of America takes place and the baby boomers get older, you're going to see a lot of celebrities dying. I mean, it's just that huge population base as it moves
Yeah.
up, it's going to get older and basically die. You're just going to see that take place. So every day you're going to see more mortality, I think, on the media for what it's worth.
Yeah, with Caitlin Clark, like we had this discussion last night, and you were there for that, where Caitlin Clark's a rookie. And yes, she was maybe the best player, at least points wise, male or female, in the history of college basketball, but she's only played like 9 games in the pros. And
Right.
there have only been 4 rookies, WNBA rookies, who've made U.S. Olympic teams. And this time around, the youngest player on the U.S. Women's Olympic team is 26. They have a player who's 41, this will be her 6th Olympics. And they've decided that, that experience is a big deal, because the U.S. is expected to win a gold in every Olympics, men and female and women when they play basketball. Anything less is a huge failure.
No, they
Well,
definitely
I think they made a mistake anyway, because Caitlin Clark is a media sensation. The rest of the NBA isn't. So
That's
they should have
true.
taken her
WNBA
raw. Now that they didn't take her, I'm just not going to watch the Women Olympics. Why would anybody watch
WNBA viewership has quadrupled under Caitlin Clark.
So this is again the WNBA making a major media mistake. They should have taken Caitlin Clark. They didn't. Now people like me and a lot of people aren't going to watch the Women Olympic because, frankly, they don't care. They'd rather see what Caitlin Clark's going to do in the Olympics than all those other old ladies who we frankly don't care about. So,
yeah, but it might be to her benefit, because she's what, 21, 22? And
I think for her, she doesn't give a rat's rear. She honestly doesn't care. She makes a lot of money. She's doing what she loves. I don't honestly.
But but the flip side of that, Nick, the flip side of that is that let's just take a player that is very well respected. People sometimes call him the Greek freak, and all along those lines and everything, that being Giannis and everything. He did not play that much in the NBA finals, but he's going to be playing for Greece, which means that he could be possibly injuring himself when Milwaukee is trying to come back to the promised line and make it to the championship.
We're talking about WNBA. Name a famous WNBA player other than Brittany Griner.
Rebecca Lobo, but she has
Rebecca Lobo, Cheryl Swoops.
None of them have the media draw that.
No, quite a few of them had Susan Rice,
Dan
quite a few of them had the media draw before.
The WNBA
and everything. Caitlin was going after
WNBA, that
and everything.
monopolistic organization, that fascist organization called the WNBA, headed by billionaires, just screwed up. That's all. Okay. And you have to understand, it's not like people got to vote. Remember, the NBA and WNBA, all it's run is by fascist billionaires. And for some reason, all the idiot Americans worship these fascist billionaires who make monopolistic decisions like, we're going to not choose Caitlin Clark. The American public didn't get a vote. And I hate it when the sports team goes, "Your Carolina Panthers." No, it's not my Carolina Panthers. It's not my LA Lakers. It's the billionaires' LA Lakers. So
there's definitely billionaires on it, and definitely that's the case.
Lie to the American public, and they believe it. They're just like Donald Trump. Oh, wait, they are billionaires just like Donald Trump. I'm sorry, Mark. They're fascist billionaires just like Donald Trump. So it wouldn't surprise me they make a horrible decision and eliminate Caitlin Clark.
Well, I don't know who picks the Olympic team. Is it?
It certainly wasn't.
There is a committee that picks them. I want to say that Dr. Leroy Walker was a member of it at one point or another. So I want to say that every sport has its own folks that pick it. I can find out who picks who picks the Olympic, but it's definitely part of the Olympic committees, and they have traditional people that they pick all the time and everything. So. And sometimes we have to remember that there was nothing but college athletes that were picked, not so much for the women, because that became a more recent popular sport.
Olympics get horrible ratings anyway. I mean, seriously, they actually are in the toilet when it comes to ratings. And when they don't pick a star like Caitlin Clark, who is at least a media phenom to show, it just shows how down the sewer the Olympics are going to go. So who knows? Is anybody going to watch it? So maybe she didn't want to play because no one's going to watch it anyway. No one cares.
Well, and first off, they picked the first 12. She's not out of the picture yet. She may still get wind up playing because they oftentimes have a variety of players that are picked, and sometimes people drop out and everything else. So there's no guarantee that Caitlin won't play and everything. But it is an Olympic committee that creates this list, and they decided to go with the older folks.
Well, I can put it in a way that Sasha will understand it. We have a chess tournament, and we're not going to invite Magnus Carlsen, but if you did, he'd show up. Are you going to not invite Are you going to say, well, for media purposes, we're not going to have Magnus Carlsen? He's an international draw. He's a big name. So it's a stupid decision not to bring
haven't there been some tournaments that, hold on a second, haven't there been some tournaments that didn't invite Magnus? And I am not the chess expert that y'all are, but I think there have been some tournaments that did not invite
I'm not going to watch it, and no one will watch it anyway.
I think the Olympics will do all right in terms of its ratings, and we'll find out because there is a world audience that looks for the Olympics just like they look for the World Cup and a number of other things that are outside of what the U.S. looks at. So I think that internationally, because a lot of times it's people that want to follow their countries, and we even sometimes see unusual competitions do unusual things like the Jamaican bobsled run and other things. So I think that you will still see a number of people watching, and I don't think that the ratings will be hurt. Maybe they'll be hurt here and everything.
Curling. Curling's interesting at least, but they won't watch the WNBA players.
No, the WNBA will do quite well, just like some of the other sports, contrary to what
the Olympics in the United States have been getting ratings decline for years. Yeah, Rick.
Right. So I'm wondering though, Caitlin Clark, 6 foot, 150. I just looked up Russia's Olympic team. I don't know if they're any good, but she is outweighed by every single player on that team.
And Russia,
so I'm wondering if they're thinking that she's still just a kid, and if they put her in there and she just gets beaten up by these other teams and her bubble gets busted, maybe they think they're doing her a favor and let her.
It doesn't matter. She's a media draw. I mean, if you have a draw, you're going to take your media draw and sit the media draw on the sidelines. I mean, that's incredibly stupid. It's a stupid decision by the WNBA. You put her in. I mean, look, and remember, she's one of a bunch of people. If the Russians beat her up, you sit her out, okay, and let the other girls play. But the fact of her being in draws a media. It's like saying, hey, let's do a concert, but let's not invite Taylor Swift. Let's invite Mary Jo down the street in Durham and have her appear. No one's going to watch Mary Jo in Durham. They don't know who she is. They don't care about Mary Jo in Durham. And frankly, they don't give a rat's for about Durham. But if you invite Taylor Swift, she'll bring like 800 million people to the table. So when you invite Caitlin Clark, she's going to bring a big draw in the United States and internationally.
Speaking of big draws and everything,
with a capital S.
I hear what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree with you. I hear what you're saying, but speaking of that, speaking of big draws, there is another sport that it can be very popular in the Southwest and everything. And speaking of draws, sometimes when you go to an event, you are not expected to be part of the show, but somebody forgot to tell the Bull that in Oregon, because the Bull decided that he was tired of people watching him, so he wanted to run into the stands to participate in the whole activity, because the folks are watching him and watching the riders try to conquer him and the clowns that are trying to keep him distracted and everything. But apparently one of those clowns did not do a great job, so he got not overly distracted, and he ran into the audience up there in Oregon at an Oregon rodeo. So what is our take when the Bull decided that he wanted to make the fans the show?
He jumped the 6-foot fence, and of course then it got a lot of media attention and then he flipped a lady off literally. It was a quite impressive run by the Bulls, but these animals are really strong. People don't realize that. So you sit in the audience, Mark. Yeah, could be a very disadvantageous thing for you to do. So they kind of like made a mistake.
But it's not just the Bulls. I have not been to, even though I say I'm going to go one of these times because it's a Southern thing and a North Carolina thing, but I'd be lying if I told you I had been to a NASCAR race, but I haven't. But I've heard that the NASCAR races can be quite fascinating, just like I hear that the Kentucky Derby can be quite fascinating as well. But do you want all that metal running towards you with the possibility that the fire may actually hit you and everything?
Chess is 10 times more exciting than NASCAR. Chess is 100 times better than NASCAR. NASCAR, I went to one when I was a kid. It wasn't a NASCAR. It was this racing thing. They had a Florida State tournament. If you want the most boring, mindless, stupid thing that you could do in your life is to go watch a bunch of cars run around in a circle. Chess is 100 times more exciting than NASCAR. The only reason it doesn't get any love is then you actually have to use your brain. You actually have to use your brain and think. And the problem is Americans are brainless. And if you want to do brainless activities, go watch NASCAR. It's brainless. Yeah, right.
No, so you need to make it strip chess. Every time you lose a piece, you lose a piece of clothing. I looked up France and Germany, and she's smaller than any of the players on any of those teams.
Yeah, but she shoots the three. She it's not like she's Brittany Griner's underneath.
But the three is different in the WNBA than the college three. Put that up. The distance. She just had her 30-point game because the rules are different in the WNBA versus the college level. So it's like you still got to get your sea legs underneath you.
Yeah, but she shoots the three. She's a shooter. She's not a grinder underneath, a Brittany Griner underneath. She's a guard who shoots from beyond the three-point arc, and that's her talent. She's got a unique talent, and that's the reason. And she hits a lot percentage. I mean, that's tough to do. And so she's a draw because she's a media sensation. They should give her an invite, but instead they're going to put a bunch of old ladies on, which is fine. People like me won't watch it. Frankly, no one will watch it that cares about the game because it's a waste of time. It's like NASCAR. And anybody seen a NASCAR? Look, the drivers out on the interstate are more exciting than a stupid NASCAR event. The chess event, the National Open that just took place, the U.S. Open, that's 10 times more exciting. And you actually have to use your brain because you actually
there's a very unique sport.
If you want to do a mindless activity,
there's a very unique sport that's about to come to the Olympics, and it is not chess as of yet. Doesn't mean chess won't come later. But I do have friends that are involved in breakdancing, and breakdancing will be an Olympic sport this year. So, yes, you can actually watch people breakdancing, and it can be a very difficult sport as well. But, yes, you can actually watch the breakdancing competition this year at the Olympics, just like I think the last Olympics, they had the BMX riders and all along those lines. So there are different stunt activities that are coming in. So maybe chess will join them later.
Chess won't join them. Chess has their own Olympiad. And it's
100 years. It started in 1924.
Yeah, so and it's followed by 600 to 800 million people around the world. Now, the United States represents about 100,000 of it. To give you an idea of the brain drain of the U.S. Remember, the U.S. is an incredibly stupid country with a scattering amount of smart people. But who follows it? China, which we talked about earlier, a very smart country. India, hundreds of millions. Europe, hundreds of millions. United States, 100,000, because they're brainless. So the brainless Americans, for the most part, they're going to watch NASCAR, they're going to watch curling or whatever the heck they watch, but they're not going to see the chess Olympiads. I mean, it's a country of a lot of stupid people. Yeah, Rick.
I don't know. I mean, there's a sport called chess boxing, which you box for 3 minutes, then you sit down, you make a chess move. Then somebody should figure out a way to do NASCAR chess.
Yeah, NASCAR chess. They combine boring with intellectual sport. Boy, that's going to be a tough one.
You see, if in all sports, you need, as a public, to appreciate the sport, you need certain understanding of rules, of strategy, of tactics, really to enjoy it. For example, there is a lot of things to understand is soccer. There is the upcoming European Soccer Championship starting this Friday. So you need a lot to understand the strategy of the players, of the coach, how they create the team and what strategies they're using and so on. A lot. Basketball, same thing. Hockey, same thing. And the least understanding you need is a NASCAR indeed. There's nothing really to understand.
That's what I was saying, Sasha. NASCAR is for
speaking of soccer, hold a second. Speaking of soccer, since you brought it up, there is hold a second.
We have an incredibly
soccer. Speaking of soccer, since Sasha brought it up and everything, and he's gonna love this one because I know his views on certain things and everything. But there is a push to get a certain country into the World Cup, because that's going on as well. So apparently there is a massive push that is going on to have Palestine represented in the World Cup, despite the fact that they're in the middle of a war and everything. So Palestine may actually be going into the World Cup qualifications.
Yes, they will be in the same group with Russia. And that group will be
That would be a good group
two
for that.
countries that must not be eliminated.
They'll be
So I know how, I
with
figured out how to make NASCAR interesting. Ride along. So like
What?
you put a comedian in the passenger seat, and that they're roasting the other drivers and the other comedians while they're driving. That's one way. If you want to do NASCAR chess, you have chess players doing the ride along. They're sitting there with a magnetic chess set
Boy.
in the passenger seat, and they're
That would be-
capturing another player's pawn or whatever gets them, like, earns them a lap at the end.
Yeah, I would like to mention something, guys. A few months ago, I mentioned that because I was looking at history of the World Chess Olympiads, that indeed before Second World War, there was a Palestinian chess team. The last one participated in Argentina in 1939. That's exactly when the Second World broke out. However, all this Palestinian team consisted of only Jewish players. There were none other than Jewish players. So now, when there are no Jewish players available to play for Palestinian team, where are they gonna get the players? I'm wondering. Maybe Hamas will provide a championship, and the first prize will be participation in Palestinian chess Olympiad or something. I don't know what it is.
Well, I mean, apparently Libya, Iran, and Indonesia have hosted the FIDE World Chess Championships, and that's since the end of the Cold War. And apparently Rustam Kasimov is apparently listed as a first Muslim to win a World Chess Championship. So apparently there has been at least one Muslim World Chess Champion, at least according to the stuff that I was finding and everything. And there's another sport. If Steve was here, he'd be talking about it, that is going on as well. And apparently it is a major sport that is in the middle of its season also, because apparently there's a big championship going on in that lovely sport of cricket and all in that space. So I was
Mark, I want to assure you that Kasimdzhanov is the same Muslim as you are a Jew.
Say what?
He is a Muslim the same way as you are a Jew.
Well, like I said, I don't know the man's background. I'm just saying that that's what they put it on the Wikipedia, and I'd have to check with them or
I
talk
don't
to
think he
him
was a world
directly
champion
and
or
everything,
anything,
because
though.
I don't know the man. I'm not
I
going to
think
make a
Wikipedia
statement
is-
and everything. But, I do have, as I've said before, I've got
I
some
know all
Jewish
world champions, and he's
roots
not
in
one.
my own family, because Dad's girlfriend, he's been with her longer than he was with Mom, and everything is of Jewish descent. So you can say that I have some Jewish connections, even though I might not be Jewish per se.
Exactly. So you have more rights to call yourself a Jew than Kasimdzhanov, because Kasimdzhanov lives in a Muslim country, but it doesn't make him a Muslim at all.
But he
Furthermore,
never won the world championship,
he
did he?
won a phony championship in Libya, which was organized and paid for by Ilumzhinov, and that's nobody considers him same as Khalifman. However, he got into real chess fame not as a player but as a coach of Anand. He coached Anand during his match with Kramnik, which he won and became finally a world champion. And then he beat Topalov, and then he played Carlsen. He lost to Carlsen, but Kasimdzhanov all these years was his coach.
Hey, hold on a second, getting off chess and everything, because I'm kind of shocked by something that I just saw, because I don't know all the sports and everything, but I know for a fact, just like we've not always been strong in certain sports, U.S. has never been strong in cricket, but somehow we managed to beat a team in Texas a couple of days ago that is known for cricket. So I'm still trying to figure out how we won against Pakistan, because apparently that is a strong, just like India, cricket thing. But we won against them like 4 days ago, and it was a game that was played, one of the T20 matches in Texas. So it looks like we had a shock of an upset that was going on in that space, because definitely they are more known for cricket than we are.
It's funny because the U.S., I'm always wondering if the U.S. could compete in rugby if we took our top NFL players and moved them over, And in cricket, if you took your top baseball players and put them into cricket, they could compete. So I think the U.S. could compete in those sports, but our players tend to go elsewhere. The other thing about soccer, I think the reason why it's so popular compared to American football is American football, you have to be physiologically weird, either big, strong, fast. In soccer, it looks like anybody can play it as long as you practice a lot, know how to move.
Well, yeah, I don't know. You
But
gotta be,
you don't appreciate how many more skills you need in soccer compared to American football.
Yeah, well, that's part of the
It's
reason
an
why it's more
incredible
popular.
set of skills, absolutely.
But see, Sasha, anybody, you don't have to be 6'4", 380 pounds to
Yeah,
go
that's
play soccer.
true. That's
You
true.
see what I mean? And see, the real problem with you have to have these typical somatotypes to play basketball. You have to be tall to play soccer. You have to, American football. You got to be big to play soccer. You can be anybody,
Yeah.
So it doesn't create. So it creates more inclusivity than American football or even American basketball. And I think that's the reason it's more popular around the world. And it's cheap to produce because all you need is the ball and a bunch of players.
ball in a big field.
With football, you need all these equipment, you need pads. I mean, it just goes on and on. It's a whole different game. But the Olympics, and Rick can check it out, I think the Olympics have been losing a lot of ground in people watching it, from what I understand.
Everything loses viewership because people have sex. I keep saying this. Even sex has lost participation because people have so many alternatives. Like people used to watch the Oscars. They don't watch the Oscars much anymore. All these award shows and all TV shows, broadcast network shows used to be, that 20 million people would watch, an episode of the Cosby Show. Now,
Right.
if you get like 5 million people to watch your show, that's a hit.
But Rick, part of that was also what was going on with the pandemic and the COVID and everything. I can tell you, because I've been out and about here in Durham for the last several weeks and everything, that there are a number of people, whether it's our Durham Bulls or whether it's the DPAC, which is a major concert arena, or whether it's the outside concerts I've been going to, and they are jam-packed. My friend Telly that just did his African concert, he had a whole thousands of people that were literally in a small field that were sitting there enjoying his music and everything. So I do think that people are coming out more and more often, and that is impacting the attendance, because attendances are starting to climb back up, because for a while people were only watching online because they could only watch online, but now people want to be among the people, because whether we like to admit it or not, we as
I looked it up. I have the numbers. So viewership grew, let's see, steadily from 2000 until 2012. You had it grow steadily. It was almost 41 million in 2012 for the opening ceremonies. Then 2016, it dropped to 29 million. 2020, it dropped to under 17 million. So nearly a 60% drop between 2012 and 2020.
But 2020 was also the pandemic Olympics, if I remember correctly. So
but it shouldn't have stopped people from watching TV. They were locked up with their
Yeah,
TV.
they should have more watchers than less. But I think the problem is what you're saying. There's more choices of entertainment, and the Olympics are just one of many choices that people can go to watch their entertainment. There's something exciting.
Look at late night. Johnny Carson, a lot of nights, 30 million Americans tuned in. There was no other game. And that was when the U.S. population was a third less than it is now. Now, if you get 1 million viewers for your late night show, just 3% of what Carson got, your show's doing okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's so different because you have so many different choices in terms of watching media and consuming media, that it makes it harder and harder to get the eyeballs going in your direction, which goes back to Caitlin Clark. She's a media sensation. They don't invite her. What they're saying is that we're not really supporting people watching the Olympics, which is okay because people aren't watching the Olympics anyway. So it's just a bad decision, by the executives. that are paid big bucks to make bad decisions because they get.
Well, we don't know how much they're paid because, like I said, I don't think, but at least when Dr. Leroy was there, I don't think that he was getting paid a lot of money because he was actually connected to North Carolina Central University and everything. So he was a member of the Olympic Committee. I think that we've had a couple of ladies, including the one that helped us provide some of the people that were doing the sports show out of George Washington that were connected with the Olympics, and that couple that was out of Canada. So some of these Olympic athletes are not getting paid that much, and I don't know necessarily that the executives are getting paid all that much either and everything. So I don't think it's like some of the nonprofits that you talked about, but I'll have to check on that. But I don't think that they're getting an exorbitant amount of pay and all along those lines. And sometimes it can be very hard work, and sometimes in certain countries it's even kind of like state appointed people that are making these decisions as well. I know that as far as I'm understand that's the case with a lot of the Eastern European nations and all
Well,
along.
there is, I didn't take into account, like starting, I don't know, in 2016, 2020, you could watch the Olympics across a bunch of different platforms,
Right.
not just, NBC, but like, they put every sport on if you could find it someplace. So
But
if
I
you
mean,
added up all that, go ahead.
And that's been part of the issue because even if you take the NBA finals are on one of the major
ABC.
networks, ABC. But some of the pre games, like the semifinals, and a number of those, you had to scramble in order to find where they were located on because they were not located on any of the major networks. So some of these contracts are fragmented contracts, and you don't get the major contract till you get to the major game. I want to say that was even happening with like the NFL and even some of the college sports as well. So that has become more of a problem. Is that now we're having fragmented coverage. So like if you want to go watch, so let's just say hockey is your favorite sport, and I'm just using hockey as an example. You might have a network that is covering the regular season games. By the time you get the championship, it's another couple of social media outlets and networks, and then hopefully, if you're lucky, one of the major networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, are covering the finals.
If I want to watch, most WNBA games are on channel 308. I didn't even know about channel 308 till I searched it out.
Right. So that's become another issue, is that it's this fragmented coverage of our sports teams, but also fragmented coverage of our major events. There's a major event that's going to happen next month, and there'll be another one in August. And I'm not sure what networks will be carrying the debates and what networks will be carrying the conventions if you want to watch the conventions. Because I know
CNN will carry on debate on June 27th. That's already been announced. But I would like to mention that there is a proliferation of specialty TV channels that one dedicated to basketball. I'm talking about NBA, and you can watch all and every single game throughout the season. Yeah. And of course, now this playoffs. And another one similar, the NHL, where you can see all the hockey matches all year long, including playoffs now. Another one is at tennis.com. There is another channel that you can watch.
There's the golf channel.
But there's the golf channel has been around. The golf channel has been around for a while because one of the gentlemen that was involved in it, I think his name was Dwayne Ballard, used to be an anchor at our local TV station, WTVD, and everything. But some of these things are great that you have them, but the disadvantage is that a lot of them are pay as you play kind of channels and everything. So that also becomes problematic because you're not just able to get the NBA, you got to get the NBA ticket. And some of these tickets are not exactly cheap tickets to get and everything. So that is another issue with this kind of specialty coverage. So yeah, you can watch the the NBA on the NBA channel, but it is not a easily affordable for everybody tickets. That's what I meant when I said, as y'all recall, even back in the old days when they were showing the political conventions, all of the networks will be carrying the convention, whether you wanted to watch it or not, and they might even carry it in its entirety. Because I remember watching both Democratic and Republican conventions online and seeing extensive coverage. But I don't know, will that extensive coverage be there unless you go to a specialty channel? Maybe the Republicans or the Democrats are running their individual channels. But Nick, you study this almost as much as I do. What is your observation of that, Ben? Like if I want to watch this coming July, because it's next month, the Republican convention and hear the different speakers and everything, would I have the same kind of access that I used to have?
Don't know. I don't. Usually, I think they're going to try to allow you to have access. So the thing is, you should be able to do it. But the networks are trying to get more into pay to view. So there's a lot of things that they want to charge people to watch. But what I have a problem with right now, Mark, on general television is the ads. Okay. In other words, you pay for cable and then I watch ads. So I go, which channel do I want to watch the ads on? Because I don't get to watch the programs. I don't know if it happens in Canada, but come on, Sasha, all I'm doing is watching ads all day. You know? I go to ABC, I see their ads. I flip it over to CBS. I watch their ads. Well, let's see what's on NBC. Their ads.
Yes.
Where do I go that I don't watch ads? No, it's like every channel. It's the ad channel. There is no programming.
Well, there is a new option on Netflix that you can now pay half of the price what you normally pay. However, there will be
ads. I mean, you know, the thing is, the advertising is out of control. And why they're out of control, we're out of time because we have the time.
But that's even, I know you're wrapping up, but that's even the political advertising because Biden is getting ready to put some ads into the NBA Finals.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go because we have timeshares where people are getting screwed because they buy these timeshares. And then when they go try to get their money back, they're sold more timeshares. So they get screwed more. It's horrible. Anyway, it's called Timeshares and Solutions coming up next on the network, and we'll see you next week on the media show.
Okay.
Bye-bye.